everybody, and welcome back to some more FoolCraft 3. This time without Janky Nick, it's just me. Nick is out on an expedition. I'm not quite sure where he's gone. I kind of lost track of him over the past few minutes. I'm sure he'll be back at some point, but I figured whilst he's gone, we can try and get some stuff done. Now, you may have noticed that a few things have changed between episodes here. Nick is partway through building the new base. We got these lovely sliding doors from Malice's doors. I really like these quite a lot. I'm not quite sure about the pressure plates on the outside of the doors here. It does make it a little too easy, I think, for mobs to break in, but we'll figure that out in the future. I've also gone ahead and condensed our storage just a little bit. I made some storage drawers for some of the resources that we've got a large amount of, like all of our wood, sand, gravel, all that kind of stuff, lapis, redstone, you name it. And then over here, I've even gone ahead and made a few of these small storage crates, actually additions. These things are really cool. They're fairly cheap to make, 4 chests, 4 planks, and then a wood casing, which is more planks, some logs, and some sticks, basically just a bunch of wood, and it makes a massive chest that takes up the same space as a normal chest, but is much bigger even than a double chest. It's huge. I love these things. And so we got a few of these. The sorting is still a bit of a mess. You know, they're still just kind of random items thrown in here. They don't look too great whatsoever, but it works for now. You don't have to go through quite as many chests to find what you're looking for, which is good. I've also set up some more bonsai pots over here. These are pretty cool. I didn't know originally if this was going to work, but it turns out you can put a hopping bonsai pot directly onto an item duct from thermal expansion, and it will just output into the item duct. And so what I've done then is we've got 4 storage drawers, 1 with sticks, 1 with logs, 1 with apples, and 1 with saplings. And so anything that comes out of these bonsai pots should then go into the item ducts here, and then all of the items will get sorted and will go into the correct storage drawer. I don't think it's the most ideal setup, because essentially what's going to happen is I think all of the items are going to come out of the hopping bonsai pot, and then they're going to try and go into each storage drawer until they find one that they can go into. And so it might be a bit laggy if we try and set up too many of these. For now, we've only got 8, which I think should be fine. But it's getting us quite a nice amount of wood, which is good. Also, you may notice that our audibling system is not here right now. That is because we've also set up a new lower downstairs area here. Kind of just temporary. We'll probably move some of this stuff and build a better base in the future. This is just kind of a starting base for us to get stuff up and running. But over here, we've got some more steam dynamos. We've got 6 in total now, all pumping into these 2 energy cells, which then, of course, feed the power into the metal caster, which is producing right now liquid iron. And it turns out actually that liquid iron is like, or iron ore specifically, takes the longest time to smelt. Like, if you look at this here, it takes such a long time. It's incredibly slow, painfully slow to watch this iron smelt in the melting crucible. But if we look at something, for example, like copper ore in JEI here, the copper ore has a much lower melting point. If we go over to Foundry, 1300k as opposed to the 1800k required for the iron. And so if you put something like copper in, or even better, if you put something like tin ore in, I think tin ore's got a melting point of like 500 or something silly like that. Yeah, 550k. The tin ore smelts ridiculously fast because our crucible is at a temperature of 1800k, and the tin ore smelts at 550, and so it smelts really quick compared to the iron ore. Not quite sure why iron is like the hottest. I don't think there's anything hotter than iron. 1250 for silver. I think gold might also be 1800 if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Gold is 1350, so even gold is lower there. But unfortunately, the resource that we have the most of, iron, also happens to be the slowest, which is not the best, but it has been running kind of continuously while Nick and I do some base building work between episodes. And so now, with all of that stuff out of the way, what are we going to work on in today's episode? Well, between episodes, many of you may have seen that there is a new building in the city. The first building to be built, the Big Cheese Grill, grand opening discount. Nick and I have already opened this. We got a Big Cheese Grill manual, or letter even, from Rendog. Have you ever just craved the scrumptious taste of a crispy, gooey grilled cheese sandwich? Well, crave no more, fellow fool. The Big Cheese Grill is now open in Fool City, Plot 21, and the grills are fired up and ready for your cash. Pick yourself up a stack of our signature sandwich, the Big Cheese, and get your grain and dairy nutrition up to max in no time. For a limited time only, we're also selling cheesy cheese chips, gold ingots for all your early game needs. Finally, those 2 vouchers can be used as cash at the Big Cheese Grill checkout. Get them while they're hot. They won't be available for long. Yours in cheese, Ren Big Cheese Dog. That's right, Rendog has opened the first food outlet over in Fool City, and that is direct competition with Nick and I, right? We are trying to set up a McDonald's, or a Mackey's, as Nick would call it. And so right now, Red Dog, he's in ahead of the game. He's got there before us. He's the first one in the city. He's got the advantage. We have got to up his grilled cheese by one if we are going to sell cheeseburgers in the city center, which is what I'd like to do. And so what I want to try and work on in today's episode is automating beef. We need beef if we're going to make these cheeseburgers, or even normal burgers without the cheese. But let's face it, cheeseburgers are kind of the iconic McDonald's burger. And so if we're going to start off with any one item on our menu, it's got to be a cheeseburger. And if we're going to do that, you can't do it without a little bit of beef. I mean, you can use that raw tofu, this raw tofiq, but I think we might get a bad name for ourselves if we kick things off with a vegetable burger. And so we're going to try and get ourselves some automated beef in today's episode. And to do that, we need to jump into some industrial forging. This is essentially Mine Factory Reloaded. If you played in 1.7.10 or any earlier version of Minecraft, it's a port for 1.12, and it adds some cool blocks such as the animal feeder, which will allow us to feed the cows that we do have so that they mate and give us more babies. It also adds the animal baby separator. Now, I'm not quite sure if we're going to use this or not. This thing is quite expensive, and it does essentially what it says on the tin. It separates baby animals from the adult animals. So essentially what we can do is we can have a few fully grown cows that are constantly mating to make sure that we get more baby cows, and then have the baby cows move to a different area. And then when they grow up, we kill the baby cows in order to get ourselves some raw beef, and thus we don't ever run out of cows, essentially is the idea there. But there is kind of, I think, an easier way for us to do this, especially with this thing requiring 3 emeralds and a machine casing, which is quite expensive. But one thing that we are going to have to get, without question, is plastic. And to make plastic, we have to get dry rubber and smelt it. Dry rubber is made with tiny dry rubber, and tiny dry rubber is made from a latex processing unit. Now, before we get to the latex processing unit, the first thing that we have to make is the tree fluid extractor. This is going to extract, I think it's tree sap, or it might even be latex, from the trees, which we can then put into the latex processing unit to get some tiny bits of dry rubber. So, to make this, we need redstone, iron gear, furnace, and 6 stone. That should not be too hard whatsoever. I was smelting some stone up right about there. We got a bunch of redstone, which is nice. And then you see downstairs, we've got a ton of iron already, and thankfully, a portable crafting table so we can craft anywhere we like. And so we'll take you, and then we'll see about doing something like this. For those who are unfamiliar, by the way, which I'm assuming is not many at this point in time, but these blocks here are chiseled blocks. You can make these by crafting a chisel, iron, and a stick, and then if you just drop some cobblestone or stone or any block really into here, you can get a bunch of different blocks, which is pretty cool. Most people probably know that already, but just in case you didn't, that is how that works. And so boom, furnace acquired, and then if we do something like this, and then finally something like, helps you put it in the right slot, and then something like this, we get ourselves a tree fluid extractor. Nice. Now, this thing does require power, and so for the time being, I think I'm going to switch the front of this energy cell to be an output, and I'm going to put it right about here. And by that, I mean I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to put it right about here because we need to be able to see the front of the block here. And basically, the way this works, it's pretty simple. You put down a log of any kind, I believe. I'm not quite sure if you get different amounts of latex from different logs. I have no idea. But essentially, you can put a log in front of this, and then it will very slowly but surely start to break the log. And in doing so, will extract some fluid, some tree fluid, which we can then pump into a latex processing unit to try and get some of that rubber. Now, to make this thing, again, fairly easy stuff. Some iron, an iron gear, redstone, 2 more furnaces, and then a machine frame. The machine frame, 4 more iron, a tin gear, and then some glass. It is actually super easy to make. And so let's just grab a little of everything, actually, so I don't have to keep coming back down here to craft. I know for a fact that we should have some glass upstairs. I'm pretty sure that Nick made a bunch of the stuff because he's still kind of working on these massive windows here, which I think look pretty cool. And so if we go ahead and do something like this, and then something like this, kaboom, and then finally something like this and this, we get ourselves a machine frame, and kablame, we get a latex processing unit. Nice. Now, to be able to move the fluid, we do, of course, need some form of pipe. We're going to use the Fluiducts for now from Thermal Expansion. These are really cheap and not that great, but at the same time, there isn't really that much tree fluid to move right now, and so these Fluiducts are a nice, cheap pipe that we can use in the early game here to get some stuff moved. And also, in order to get that pipe to work, we do, of course, need a servo of some variety. I'm going to go ahead and use the basic server from Thermal Expansion. And so now, if we head on back down to our setup, what we should be able to do is something a little bit like this. I'm going to put, it's going to look bad for now, but we don't really have a good energy source outside of these dynamos. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the latex processing unit right there, so it can get power from the energy cell. I'm going to put the fluid duct right here. Again, doesn't look great, I know. But we could probably do with making a crescent hammer, which, if memory serves me right, looks something like this. It does indeed, good stuff. And so now we can go ahead and just disconnect that from the metal caster. We don't want it connecting to there. We don't want any of the latex ending up in there, even though I'm pretty sure it probably can't. And then if we do something like that, set the redstone output to ignored, it should then start to pull the fluid out and through into the latex processing unit. So now we've got 610 millibuckets of latex in the processing unit, but we're not yet done. We do also have to provide this with water. Thankfully, I did set up an unlimited water source back here, mostly so we can keep giving the steam dynamos water as and when they need them. I do intend to automate this at some point, maybe even in today's episode, because it won't actually take too long for us to automate that, maybe with something like an aqueous accumulator or a fluid transfer node from extra utilities. But for now, if we do something like this, the latex processing unit can begin making us these tiny piles of rubber. Nice. Now, it does take, flipping at quite a bit of water, actually, and so we do kind of need to keep pumping this stuff in if we do want to get the rubber. Thankfully, we do get quite a lot of rubber from the latex. Like, it's quite good here. It's not too slow. I thought it might have been a fair bit slower than this. But I think what I might do here, guys, just to spare you having to watch me move this water kind of over from the water source to the latex processing unit over and over and over again, is we will look at making ourselves an aqueous accumulator. This guy right here. This requires a bucket, 2 glass, a device frame, which is 4 tin, a copper gear, and some glass, and then 2 iron gears and a redstone servo made with iron and redstone. All fairly easy stuff, actually, and all stuff that I think we should be able to make from our inventory. We've already got a bucket. I'll make another one because I kind of want to keep one in my inventory just in case we need it. We could make iron gears, by the way, using bronze, but I think it's probably just easier and cheaper to make it with 5 iron instead. What would be even cheaper, actually, would be to make a gear cast, a gear mold for the metal caster here, and then pull the iron out in gear form, because I think that just requires 4 iron instead of 5. But because of how long it takes us to smelt the iron, if we were to put like the iron ingots back into the melter just to try and pull it out in gear form, I think that would just take way too long. And considering we're not that low on iron, I really don't think it's necessary, at least not just yet. And so what are we missing? We're missing the redstone server. Easy enough. And kablammy, we have ourselves an aqueous accumulator. Nice. So the way this works is you can throw it down between 2 source blocks of water. We have one underneath each of these bits of chiseled stone here. And if you do that, it will basically act as that center unlimited source of water, and it will just provide that water. You can see right now it's got 8 buckets worth of water in it. All we need to do is pump that out into our steam dynamos. To do that, we are going to have to get some more fluid ducts. Thankfully, again, they are fairly easy to make. And then in the interest of this not looking horrible, I think what I will probably do is dig down and just run these underground like this. Oh, okay, good. I thought we might fall there, actually. Thankfully, we're fine. And so if we dig this out, and then we just dig kind of along here, I really wish we could use vein miner, but I'd dig up the whole floor. And so if we do something like this, and this, what we should be able to, and also I guess we should do something like this as well. I'll probably move the latex processing unit and the tree fluid extractor at some point in the future once we've got kind of the whole power system automated. But for now, let us get our fluid ducts. Let's run a pipe over to there, along like this, and then back through into here if we do something like that. And I think I might have a bit of an issue here because I don't think I can jump. No, I can't jump out of there. That's fine. That does mean I'm going to have to release the water just a little bit, but that's fine. And then we'll just seal that up like so. Do something like this. Unfortunately, I don't think you can pull out of the front. No, you can't. So we are going to have to do, for now, something like that. Disconnect this. The top is an output. The water is gone. And if we look in here, you'll see these are all filling up. And then even the latex processing unit is filling up there with water very fast. You'll see you're producing more than enough water with the one aqueous accumulator here. Thankfully, it doesn't even require any power. It's quite a cool block that way. It's ridiculously cheap, actually, I think, for what it does. But nevertheless, we now have a bunch of tiny dry rubber being made. And so if we grab that, what we should be able to do is craft that up into these dry rubber pieces, which I believe we can then smelt into plastic, if I'm not mistaken. And if we get these two here up and running, we should be able to make our first machine, which I think is going to have to be the animal feeder. This guy right here. 2 plastic, 1 golden apple, 2 golden carrots, a simple machine chassis or a machine frame, 2 purple dye, and then an iron gear. That looks quite expensive, but I think it actually isn't going to be too bad. Now, let me sleep here real quick, because I think I'm going to head back over to spawn, because I'm fairly certain, if I'm not mistaken, as part of the Meals on Wheels quest, that a couple of people have given us carrots and might even have given us apples, although I'm pretty sure that, yeah, of course, we've got our own apples. They're over here in the bonsai pots. So we'll take you, we will grab some gold from the chest down here, and we should actually be able to do this fairly easily, actually. And you'll notice that the oak log is now gone from in front of the tree fluid extractor, and so we can indeed go and grab another piece of wood. Again, at some point, we'll try and automate this so that it's a little bit more efficient. You know, we don't have to keep coming back over and over again and putting wood down in front of the tree fluid extractor. It shouldn't really be too hard. Just get something like a block placer from Open Blocks, or maybe even the block placer from Industrial Forging itself. Put that down here and just have that be ready to place a block down, or even put it like directly opposite the tree fluid extractor. I think that would work just fine. But nevertheless, that's not what we're working on for now. We are working on the feeder. Now, of course, for the feeder to actually be any good, do we not have any gold? Really? Am I going to have to buy gold off Rendog from spawn in the form of cheesy chips? I really thought we had gold. We got 2 gold ingots up here. We got a cheesy cheese voucher for $5 off. I think, guys, I might actually just go and buy some gold off Rendog. I think it's like $25 if we're going to do that. Let me check here. How much money do we have? We got 5 and 50. If I take a 50, what can I craft that into? That crafts into 5 10s. Okay, so I'm going to take $25, and I think we're going to go and buy 32 gold from Rendog. Before we do that, let me get rid of some of this trash out of my inventory, because it is getting way too full at the moment. So we'll just get rid of some of that stuff there. I'll keep some of the redstone, because we'll probably need it for crafting. I'll also keep the iron gear, because I'm fairly certain we're going to need that as well. And so now, if we go over to our waystone menu and to the town hall, here we go. I don't know if I mentioned the new rule here. We got a new rule on the server. You'll notice I didn't start this episode in F5 mode. This time it was on purpose, and that is because the current rule has changed. Now we have to care for at least 1 animal every episode, feed it, pet it, build it a nice home. And that is exactly what we're going to do for our cows. But before we do that, let's head on over to the Big Cheese Grill. You can see it over there in the distance. It's quite a majestic building. I do really like the design that he's done here. And he's done a great job with chisel and bits on the sign at the front here. He's also got a really cool, like, saloon door on the front here from Malice's doors. This thing's really cool. Like, you don't right-click to open it. It just swings as you walk through it. I really like that. But here we go. We got the Big Cheese grilled cheese sandwich, $50 per stack, and then cheesy cheese chips, gold ingots, $25 for half a stack. Now, we do have... Oh, I put it in my chest. I didn't bring it with me. We did have a $5 voucher, and so we didn't have to spend this $5 here. But for now, we'll drop $25 in. We'll take half a stack. That's going to allow us to craft up our golden apple like so. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm fairly certain that if we go and check our kind of post box here in the town hall, I think that we do have a at least 1 carrot. Now, preferably, it'd be nice if we had 2 carrots in here. That'd make life a bit easier. We don't. But we can, of course, go ahead and use some bone meal to grow a few more carrots if needs be. But guys, with that, I'm going to head on back over to our base, and I'll be back in a second. And not too long later, now that we are back at our base, we can go ahead and do something like this. Grab ourselves a hoe. We do have 3... we got a bunch of bones, and so we should be fine. Also, I did learn by doing a little bit of corporate espionage by watching Rendog's videos. I found out that sheep in this mod pack actually drop bone meal just passively if you leave them just lying around. And so we might have to try and make use of that at some point for accelerated growth and getting a bunch of bone meal. But until then, I think, if I'm not mistaken, golden carrots just require nuggets. They do. That is a lot nicer than the golden apple. Otherwise, that would have been a ton of gold. But that gets us 2 of those. And then what am I missing? We're missing 1 of these, which, again, shouldn't be all too hard. We do need a little bit more in the way of glass, but that is already ready to go. Kapow. And what are we missing? We're missing the 2 plastic, which is done. And then finally, we are missing just the purple dye. And of course, the easiest way, I think, for us to make that is going to be for us to get a little bit. We do have some red wool, but I think the easiest way is going to be for us to grab some red flowers. Was really hoping we'd have some in our chest there. Unfortunately, we don't. But fortunately, we do have a ton of them around here. I can see some just over there in the distance. And if we craft that up with a little bit of the lapis that we've got, that should get us the purple dye in no time. And we should be on our way to getting our animal feeder up and running. Now, in order for it to actually work and be able to feed animals, it does need a constant supply of specifically wheat if we're going to farm cows, which we don't have yet. And I think that's going to be something that Nick and I are going to work on in the next episode. But for now, let me just try and get this kind of foundation up and running. I guess we didn't need to, but that's fine. We can always save more for the future. Then get to the animal feeder. Again, for now, I'm not quite sure where I want to put this. Do we have any fences? I don't think that we do, but also I think that they are very easy for us to make. And I always forget the recipe for fences. If I'm not mistaken, which I very well might be, I think the fences look something like this. Yeah, I always think it's the other way around. I always think that it's kind of sticks on either side and then the planks in the middle, but that's a fence gate, not an actual fence. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up like a really small little cow farming area. Obviously, as time goes on, we will increase the size of kind of our cow farming zone. And also, we do not have anywhere near the number of fences that we need. Let me try that again with something like this and this. Okay, and kaboom. And essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to have, for now, I guess, the feeder can go right about here. And essentially, again, provided with power, put wheat in, it will automatically breed any cows that are already in here. Unfortunately, we do have to do something like this. It looks horrible, but it works and stops the cows from getting out. And then what we could do is we could build like a second compartment over on this side for baby cows, and using the baby animal mover from industrial forging, we could move those cows over. But we do have dark utilities installed, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there is a baby animal filter. Yeah, this one right here. It requires 1 egg, 4 fence gates, and 4 chiseled stone. And essentially what this does is it's a block that only allows baby animals to pass through it. And so what I'm thinking is, if we replace the floor here with these filters and we put adult cows on top, when those adult cows breed and produce baby cows, those baby cows will then fall down into a second chamber that we have beneath it, which we can then use to then kill those cows. Now, also, one thing that I forgot to mention about the top chamber here is we should probably get a rancher. This will allow us to automatically milk the cows. It's fairly easy to make. Again, 2 shears, 3 plastic, a bucket, and another machine frame. And this guy will allow us to continually get buckets of milk, which, if we go back to the cheeseburger, we do in fact need in order to make a good supply of cheese. And so that is something we want to make in the future. Oh, I do not like this guy. This guy is very powerful indeed. Please let me in. Nick's made the world's smallest door. Thankfully, I don't think he can get to us. That guy is way too strong, especially when you don't have much in the way of decent armor. My goodness. But let me go ahead and try and get a lasso from X Utilities. Again, fairly easy to make. 4 string and 4 golden nuggets. We've got 1 string there. Do we really not have any more string? Oh, do we really not have that string? Can I put white wool into the grindstone to get string? I don't think that I can, annoyingly enough. That would be way too easy, right? Let me see here. Is there an easy way that I can make string? I don't think there is, outside of killing spiders. And so I think, guys, what I'm going to do is I am going to head on out into the wild world over here and try and kill a few spiders without dying to this guy. I'm also going to try and find a chicken so we can try and get an egg for the filter block, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so it didn't take long at all for me to get 4 string, which I'm very happy about. And so now what we should be able to do is very easily craft up a golden lasso. And for those who don't know, the golden lasso allows you to kind of pick up and move passive mobs around. I'm not quite sure if it works on hostile mobs, but it will allow us to pick up some cows and bring them back over to our enclosed area here. And so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go to sleep here real quick, try and get rid of all of the mobs that are going to try and kill us during the day. I'm going to head out. I'm going to try and find a few cows, bring them back over to our pen here. On my travels, I will also try and find at least 1 chicken, or really just 1 egg from a chicken. And again, I'll be back in a second. Boop. 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 All right, so a flipping heck of a long time later, it took forever for me to find some chickens. I had to go, I'll show you on the minimap here. I had to go, I kind of first explored up here, didn't find really any cows or any chickens, and then eventually came across this village over here, which had a bunch of cows and also a bit of wheat that I stole, but no chickens whatsoever. And it wasn't until I got down into kind of this, whatever this biome is over here, that I finally found some chickens. It took forever, but nevertheless, we are back. And so, but what we should be able to do now is craft up some planks, craft up at least 4 of these fence posts, which again, I believe looks something like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go ahead and throw those in 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think, again, if I'm not mistaken, it's 4 stone and an egg. That gets us 4 of these mob filters. There are some bad guys outside, which I'm really not a huge fan of. Hello, my friend. I'm going to drop my cow into here. I don't think he made it in. I'm going to pick him up again real quick. I'm gonna head back inside, actually, because we don't have any food. I ate the last of my grilled cheeses. Oh, let me quickly just eat some of these pork chops I'm cooking up and also get rid of some of the trash in my inventory because it is way too full. Oh, okay. Let's try that again. You, not a problem. I can get rid of a guy with a shovel. It's you with the bow and arrow that I struggle with. You're also very powerful. If he could stay away from me, that would be great, but I know as soon as I turn around, he's going to be chasing me again. Gosh dang it. Let me get this cow in here like that. And also, actually, I'm going to have to move these guys because I need to put the filter in the floor, but I can do that in a second. Please don't shoot. Thank you. Please just die. Okay, now I've just got to fight you. What could go wrong? Okay, he's dead. Oh, all right. Jeez. So, the plan here is we're going to move these 2 out. Get it? Move these 2 out. Okay, we're going to move those guys out, kill this guy, and then we're going to dig this up. I do have a shovel, which is nice. We're going to dig up, at the very least, the bottom kind of area here, and we're going to replace those with these mob filter blocks, right? Then we're going to put the cows back in, who have already managed to wander quite far away. It did take a lot of restraint not to kill this cow for his hat. He does have a very cool-looking hat that I would very much so like to have. But at the same time, we need to get these burgers up and running, right? So this guy is really wants to leave. Flip it, get back here, you piece of trash. Let's get him into the pen. There we go. And so now, what we are going to do is I'm going to dig underground. Again, this is kind of just a very temporary proof of concept more than anything else, just to see if it works. Once we're actually setting this up, I'll make it look a lot nicer and we'll put it in like a big old... We'll make it bigger. We'll probably make it like a 5x5 with a lot more of these mob filter blocks. We'll have a lot more cows. We'll have a lot more space, and it won't be just kind of plopped in the middle of nowhere. But the idea here is that we're going to put down... Not death. I do not want to die here today. There we go. We're going to put down, like, fence gates here so they can't get out. And what should happen is the baby cow should fall down into the bottom here. And so if we come back up and we... Gosh, dang it! Let me kill this guy, eat some pork chops. Oh! Okay, so, first things first, we have to kill this zombie. And once he's dead, we have to kill this zombie. And once he's dead, we have to then complete the daily quest, right? We have to house these cows, which I believe we've done. We've given them a home. Right here, this is a home. We have to feed them, which I will do in just a second. And we have to pet them. Who's a good cow? Oh, who's a good... Nope, that's not a pet. It's an aggressive pet. But we did pet him. Oh, God, these freaking zombies are everywhere, man. I put down more torches around the perimeter to try and give us a wider area, but apparently that was not enough. Flipping heck. All right. Who's a good cow? Yes, who's a good cow? All right, let's feed these guys. Here you go. And so they should produce a baby cow, which should instantly, as soon as he walks kind of over this mob filter, which he'll do any second now. Any second. Any second now. Oh, there he goes. If I lure him over here, maybe? There we go. You saw him fall through. And so if we go down here, we should have a baby cow. Nice. And what will happen is, over time, this guy will, of course, grow into a fully grown cow. We might even be able... do we have the growth syringe in this pack? There used to be a growth syringe in Mine Factory Reloaded. Even if we don't have it, these guys will eventually grow up in 20 minutes. It takes a while, but they'll grow up, and then we'll use something like a grinder, maybe, to kill them, get their beef, and then the whole process will cycle and start all over again. Like I said, we'll put a rancher here to get milk. We'll have a bunch more cows. I'll expand this out between episodes, but that's the basic idea. That is how we're going to get a bunch of beef. And also, one thing that I was not aware of until I checked in JEI, but if we look up the recipe for a cheeseburger again, you can actually use ground beef as opposed to normal beef, essentially meaning that we can get double the amount of burgers from the same amount of beef just by putting them through a pulverizer, which I thought was pretty cool. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode there. Between episodes, I'll make this bigger. I'll make some more mob filter blocks. I'll get some more cows. I'll probably craft the rancher and stick that down as well. And we're also going to have to try and figure out what we're going to do for power to get power to all of these guys over here. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, as always, be sure to like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below and subscribe if you're new here to see new videos as soon as they go live. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!